Hey guys, Ailoupup here, and today I thought I would do something a little bit different for me. I would like to do the I own too many books tag, and I was tagged by Becca the book reviewer. I will put a card on screen and a link in the description to her original video. First of all, I would like to say that I don't think that there's such a thing as too many books. It's just the name of the tag. Now that that's been said, let's get started, shall we? Question number 1. What is the book you've owned the longest? I had to look around for this book because I gave a lot of my books to my nephews, a lot of my children's books that I had when I was a little girl. And while some of those books are still at the house, they're not technically my books anymore, so I'm not counting them. But I did manage to find this one. This is The Adventures of Chuck E. Beaver and Friends, First Day of School. And it's by, doesn't have a name on the cover. It says it's written by Kiki, so I guess I'll just say that it's by Kiki. I don't remember getting this book, but considering that it's my sister's name that's written in the front cover, I believe it was probably my sister's book, like so many others, and was just handed down to me when she was too old for these kind of books. Question number 2. What is the book you've owned for the longest and just haven't read yet? My book collection isn't really all that impressive compared to many others, and I've read most of the books that I have, because usually I read it in the library first and then I get it for myself if I liked it enough. The book I found was A Darkness Forged in Fire by Chris Evans. This was a book I got from my sister for, I think it was a birthday present. Grade 10, I think. So I was probably about 14, 15. It gave me 2 books at the time, and I read the other one but just forgot to pick up this one, I guess, or something. I've been meaning to read it for a while, but I just haven't. Question number 3. What is that one book you hate and you should have gotten rid of but you haven't? For me, that book was Hatchet by Gary Paulson. This was one of a few books that we could have read in a project in grade 6, so I was probably about 11-ish. And this was not a book that I read, but I heard many of my classmates saying how good it was, and I found myself sometimes regretting not picking this book because everybody said, you know, it's such a good book. But I picked it up from the store last year sometime, I don't exactly remember when, but I picked it up and I thought, you know, everybody said this was such a good book and I'll just read it. But I was very disappointed when I finally read it. I can't really say that I regret picking it up because I do like to collect books, and that's why I'm not planning on getting rid of this one. And also I plan on rereading it eventually and doing a review on it of why I don't particularly care for it. Question number 4. What is a book you were pressured into getting but you just don't really want to read it? For me, that book was Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I can't really say I was pressured into getting this because my friend didn't exactly say, come on, you have to get it, it's so good. But she did hype it up a lot, and I did start to read it. About halfway through, I stopped because I decided I just don't like it. I don't like the main character and I don't like the plot. If I don't like either of those things, I'm not going to like the book. So I wanted to read it at first because I wanted this to be my first review. I just couldn't finish it. So I just don't really want to get back into it. But eventually, I think I will force myself to read it so that I can figure out why I don't like it and do a review on it for my friend. Question number 5. What is a book on your to-be-read pile that you want to read next? I would like to read Assassin's Creed Renaissance. This is not actually Renaissance. This is the Secret Crusade, which is, I believe, the 3rd book in the Assassin's Creed series. But at the time I bought it because I thought it was the first book, because it's based on the first book in the Assassin's Creed game series, and the Assassin's Creed game series is one of my all-time favorites, but this is not actually the first book. The first book is Renaissance, and I don't have it, but I really want to read it eventually. I may actually read this one though, because the little that I read of it, I think that it probably could be read on its own as the first book, but I'll have to wait and see and hope I don't regret that decision if I do eventually read this before Renaissance. Question number 6. What is that book you bought at the bookstore that one time and you just haven't read it yet? For me, that book is The Phoenix Unchained by Mercedes Lackey and James Mallory. I heard about Mercedes Lackey a while back and I was curious about her books. So I found this in the bookstore and I wanted to read it. I didn't. I started reading it multiple times and put it down and never put it back up. Even though the little I read of it, it's pretty good, but for some reason I just put it down and never picked it back up. Question number 7. What is that one book you spent all your money on? So I have a lot of Chicken Soup for the Soul books, which each cost me about $16. That's not the most expensive book I have bought. Book here, this is Hyrule Historia. It's a book detailing the Zelda game series, and it's a very big book and it's a very heavy book. This book cost me $40. This is the most expensive book I have ever bought. Surely, of course, there are more expensive books out there, but this is the most expensive one I've bought. Question number 7. What is the prettiest book you own? I had a hard time choosing this one because I looked at my books and I didn't realize before just how pretty a lot of my books are. But I eventually chose Wolfspeaker by Tamora Pierce. The covers of the books that I have by her are all pretty nice looking, but I chose Wolfspeaker very specifically because I love wolves. They're my favorite animal. And the way the wolf in this one looks, and the blue and the goldish color in the background, and it all goes together very well, and this is probably one of my favorite books in this series. Not my most favorite, but it is my second favorite in the series, and it's a very good book, and I love the cover, and it's very lovely. Question number 9. What is the ugliest book you own? I actually had 2 books for this, but when I was looking for the second book, I couldn't find it, and then just before I started recording, I found it again. But I decided, well, I have this one book and that's fine, so I'm just gonna use this one book instead of the second book as well, because really I think this one's uglier than the other one anyways, and that is The Ugly Duckling by Iris Johansson. This was a book I got from my bus driver, actually. My bus driver is apparently a reader, or was at the time, and she had all these books that she wanted to get rid of. I did a lot of reading on the bus, and she knew I loved books, so she gave me a whole stack of books one day when I was getting on the bus. She's like, "Here, just take these. I know you're a reader, you can have them." So this was one of the books that she gave me. Well, I haven't read this book yet, so I don't know if it's a good book or not, but just looking at the cover, it's just so plain and gray looking, and just, yeah, I don't like this cover at all. It's just too gray for me. I like things with color. I don't like gray. Finally, there's also an optional show your bookshelf thing. Let's go do that now, shall we? So first off, we have these two shelves that you see in every video. There's the first one, and then over here, oh, see, there's the second shelf. And I debated whether to point out this one over here because it's not actually my shelf, it's my mom's. I have my little section of books there, and her section of books there, and then my games down here. It's not my shelf, but it's down in my area in the basement, so I use it more than she does, but it belongs to her. There's also this shelf here in my room. I'm in the process of moving things around, which is why this one seems a bit empty or strange or whatever. And that's all from me today, guys. I'm tagging anyone who wants to do this because I don't actually know that many booktubers, and as of right now, there's nobody really watching me anyways, so if you see this and you want to do it, then by all means. Thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to come back for more if you liked this one.